So I used a method that I use on fossils. I do some fossil work, and I just modified it a little bit to get it to work so that I could do two types of section. One section is called a ground section, and those types of sections are prepared using a diamond knife, and it's a method called abrasion cutting.
Hi, my name is Liz Hill, and I'm sitting with Damien Laudier to talk about their 2025 NSH Poster, High-Resolution Histological Preparation of Araneomorphae and Mygalomorphae chelicerae using a modified petrographic technique. Welcome, Damien.
Thank you.
So to start, tell me a little bit about your topic and why it excites you.
So my histology work centers around arthropods, and I also work with musculoskeletal tissue. And I do a lot of work with arachnids, and that is a group that contains spiders, scorpions, whip scorpions, harvestmen. And some of these terms may not be familiar to people, but it's a wide-ranging group of different species. This work centers on spider fangs, chelicerae, which are specialized appendages that are involved in venom delivery, as well as helping spiders to feed and how they process their food. There are 52,000 species of spiders, and to compare that with mammalia, you're only talking about 6,500 species. So spiders are vastly understudied in terms of morphology and specifically histology. So this is something that I wanted to present to the histology community. A lot of people suffer from arachnophobia, and I wanted to show people that, number one, spiders are not to be feared. They're actually a very valuable part of the biodiversity ecosystem. And also, the morphology is pretty cool, something that you may not consider, to be able to look at things a little bit closer and to appreciate the beauty of the morphology.
You sound passionate about this. How did you get into this type of research?
I have a background in entomology, and so all things arthropod, basically terrestrial arthropods. When I decided to venture out on my own, started my own histology laboratory service, I wanted to incorporate my interest in arthropods to provide that service to the scientific community, because there is not a lot of opportunity for people to get high quality work done with these types of samples. So I wanted to be a resource for that.
Very nice. Looking at this poster, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part was putting together the images and also the glossary of terms. That was my favorite part, just actually doing the work and being able to put it together.
Besides the formatting, were there any challenges you faced during this project?
The challenge was just to get it done. I had to come up with a very specific technique, a technique that is more geared towards rock microstructure technique called petrography. So that was really the challenge, because traditional histology techniques just weren't going to work to look at these types of tissues.
Do you want to go into any detail about those techniques and how they differ from traditional methods?
So traditional methods, or I guess the method that is ubiquitous in histologic technique, is paraffin wax. And most arthropod tissue, even softer tissue, is going to suffer with the paraffin wax method. In terms of chelicerae and fang, it's not going to work at all. So my laboratory really focuses on resin embedding techniques, and I had to come up with a method that would allow me to do this type of work. So I used a method that I use on fossils. I do some fossil work, and I just modified it a little bit to get it to work so that I could do two types of section. One section is called a ground section, and those types of sections are prepared using a diamond knife, and it's a method called abrasion cutting, where you are making a notch into the sample and you're cutting through it with abrasion until the section is produced. That section is then mounted to a glass or acrylic plate, polished down, surface stained, and then imaged. The other method is called shearing, which is a traditional microtome cut. Although these samples could not be cut on a rotary microtome, I had to use a microtome called a base sledge microtome. I was able to do both. I was happy with the results. I think the morphology looks good. It came out the way that I was hoping it would. And yeah, so I have a new method now to be able to study this, not only for myself, but for another investigator that may want to look at these structures down the road.
That's exciting. You have a new method. Was there anything that surprised you when you were doing your research and developing your method?
More nuanced than I expected to see. For a non-invasive technique, chelicerae are studied using topographical methods such as micro-CT radiography. So just seeing things that I could not see using those non-invasive methods. A lot of nuance and structure, detail, still trying to decipher what it means.
So it sounds like you might, but so then is there follow-up based on this, the results you discovered in your poster?
Follow-up is to just refining the method, hopefully once it gets out into the community, having people, other collaborators to work with, and just carrying it forward.
Very nice. What kind of support did you have in putting this poster together? Did you have other team members help you? Did you work with any other organizations?
Not so much in putting the poster together, certainly collaborators that provided samples, which was very important. But no, this was a solo project other than, like I said, collaborators that provided samples to me to be able to do the work.
And what advice would you give someone who wants to submit their first poster?
I've been submitting posters to NSH for a while. However, when we moved from the paper format to the digital format, this is my first digital poster. So I would say just make sure that it is formatted correctly.
That's a good piece of advice. Do you have any advice on how to take a concept to get buy-in, maybe if you're not a solo person, to get buy-in to move a research poster forward?
Well, if you have an interest in any aspect of histologic technique, I would say just run with it. It could be something that I think this year there are two posters that are looking at different mortaring methods for buoyants. I'm sorry, not for buoyants, but for trichrome. They had the same idea.
Would you have any advice for someone who has an idea for a poster and how they can get buy-in to move that research idea forward?
If you have an idea, I would say just go for it. You work on it, you take notes, you get a collection of images that you are satisfied with, and you start writing up your details. The idea, the methodology, and the results. Include references, and just start laying it out. Run it by a few people to see what they think, get some feedback, and submit it.
And Damien, before we close, is there anything else you want to share about your poster or your research?
I'd like to get feedback on it. I love good discussion, especially about science and histologic technique. So if you read it, if you have questions, feel free to email me. Hopefully this will turn into a paper at some point for the Journal of Histotechnology.
Thank you so much, Damien.
Thank you.